All right, everybody. Happy Friday. Let's just go ahead and kind of break down um, what happened this week. All right. Let's just go ahead and break down what happened this week. I'm gonna get into a little bit of a trade recap on a number of names, ones that I traded, ones that I exited, and so on and so forth. So, anyways, I think it kind of starts with just Apple looking so good to start the week, right? I thought that this defense and this sweep on this candle of the bear gap open here was enough to think enough of a signal bar to start looking for longs, potentially back to refill some of these imbalances, and that's really again this whole sequence, right? This whole sequence generally is fairly bearish. It hasn't. There's been a very negative sentiment for Apple, it seems, and it's just kind of been in a bear tape. So down here, what's kind of the next move that needs to happen for Apple in order for it to continue to progress to the downside, to continue to move lower? And for me, that was to refill some of these imbalances and then push back lower, right? That's what I thought the script for Apple was going to kind of be, and that made a whole lot of sense considering how big some of these imbalances were left over back here, right? These two over here. So you kind of get this again. You get this little base here, low, low. So there's three waves of lower lows, push through, higher low, the defense, perfect, and then again. So that's the little bullish sequence. But really what they're trying to do this whole time is accumulate and then push higher and then distribute again, right? Distribute back lower, defend some of those bearish imbalances, and then we'll see what keeps happening. I don't think this is I think maybe it sees some more relief. And maybe some of those bearish tensions start to wear off. But nonetheless, we were bullish because of Friday's candle. And so what happens really is kind of out of my kind of out of the scope of my expectations for sure. And really what happens again is this push through on I have no idea. I really have no idea. I'm going to be honest. I really have no idea on what this happens, but we get a monstrous gap up on Monday, and that really sets the tone for the week. I've got to be honest. That sets the tone for the week. Just given how large the gap up was on a Monday, where there's FOMC and the Nvidia keynote, right? So there's there's all these. There's probably a bunch of other people that are in the same boat as I am. Maybe some of them even took shorts over the weekend, and that now there's some player that's gonna have to mitigate their loss and draw us lower for a higher low, and then now this bullish progression that we see here, right? So the people, again, this is such a large gap up that you know that there's some people that are having to mitigate their losses, and ultimately all it results to is a 412 retest. I know it digs a little bit deeper into the 412, but what does it dig into? It digs into the GP, and then our higher low is placed, right? That's just chef's kiss. I mean, that's why I use fibs to find those discounted entries, and so that's what sets the tone, right? I'm looking for longs throughout this whole time. I know that this is just mitigation from the people that got absolutely destroyed, and we're just looking for a higher low, and knowing Apple's looking great. That's all the confluences I need, right? And so I think to keep this fairly organized, what I do is I go to net, right? I run over to net because I thought that Tuesday's bar into FOMC was just absolutely beautiful, right? So you kind of get this. This is an insane sequence. I'm gonna struggle to really break down every single detail because of just the time that it's gonna take. But really, all that matters is that in this sequence, we're in a discounted range, right? So here's the fibs. We're digging a little bit below the 0.618. And where are we digging into? We're digging into, boom, the earnings candle gap, right? So the earnings candle gap. So anyways, what happens, right? This is just a peg setup. I don't want to overcomplicate this, but I honestly love, and I remember talking to a couple people about this. I just love candles like these. Man, it's so crazy to say you love candles, but look, you get this candle here. Man, that's such an ugly line. But you get this candle here, and I think novice traders, this is what's really important. I think novice traders will look at a candle like this. They'll see an exhaustion bar, which in a sense, yes, this is a shooting star candle. But if you can look right up here, it says this is up 19.5%, right? This is a monster gap up, right? And novice traders are probably looking to go short, right? And so with that being said, what happens? We built this little internal range in here, right? And I got to turn this back on because I'm not very good at that. So there's this internal range that gets built in here, right? Internal range, boom, 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 boom. Nice. And so what happens is you finally get marked down lower into this, again, the 0.618, slightly below the 0.618, and then boom, into this earnings candle gap, and you break below the range, and then you break back above the range, right? And so knowing that there's probably somebody looking to go short in this sequence, just based off, again, you have to always look at charts from the perspective of how are people potentially positioning themselves in a counter to what your intentions on the chart are. And this is a perfect example of noting kind of these bars where you know there's just some moron that's looking at this and wanting to short. And then breaking support. Oh, we're breaking the range. And so boom, breaks below, reclaims. And this is the importance of just multi-time frame analysis. This 4 hour is very clear to me. So these preliminary bars here of this is the swing low. So I hope everything's so far is clear. These are the preliminary bars. There's clearly a bid trying to step in and hold and hold and hold. And so what happens? Fucking knife. These people that were anticipating some type of, again, they were anticipating a hold of this, but really what price was facilitating to the whole time was the gap, and that's what they get, right? So you get a low, a lower low, and so I'm personally not the type of motherfucker that's gonna try to just front run a knife like this, right? Because let's just be honest, I do want to wait for some confirmation. And so once we get the low, right, where these preliminary buyers get stopped, right, there's always got to be just a party that just gets cooked one last time. Boom, breaks back above closure. And on this bar was when it all made sense, right there. On that bar was when the whole sequence just lined up. Chef's kiss again, low, lower low, higher low. There's just this climactic bar, huge hammer candle, reclaiming the range, and then we go long, right? Whenever this candle, what was this? 9 a.m., right? 9 a.m. this candle closes, 9 a.m. this opens, you're long. And then now let's kind of just tie this all in together. Back to QQQ, back to the indices, right? Here we are, we're bullish, right? Into Wednesday, here's Wednesday, here comes Wednesday, and Wednesday blows everybody out the water. And I think it does this because if you're just paying attention, there's a high here. This high doesn't tap this high, it doesn't tap this one, this high doesn't tap this one, this high doesn't tap this one. So you know, just based off what I just told you, that there's stops on all these bars. And so what happens when you thrust on FOMC and you get such a aggressive move is all these people get stopped. This person gets stopped. Now they are a buyer. Now they're a buyer. Now they're a buyer. And there's a domino effect that happens on the indices. And that ultimately leads net to such a large move back to 100. And then again, there's just this monster gap up where we're making new highs and I'm out, right? So that's kind of the sequence here on net and kind of the sequence here on the indices. Boom, 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 boom. All these people get taken out. And then here, and then again with the Apple played out, does the same thing on Tuesday once the Monday gap up happens, finds a discounted entry, moves to imbalances. What do you know? Some fucking news comes out. I don't even know. And then here we are, right? So that's kind of what I did with technology. I hope that makes sense. It's very, very simple. It's just paying attention to the small details, right? It's paying attention to the small details. You know what's kind of funny about this as well? So I don't like trend lines. I'm sorry if you use trend lines. I think there's some valid ones, but when you have a trend line, what you're saying is that there's incremental, right? Shallow, lower low, lower low, lower high, lower high, lower high, right? And the reason it breaks out is because it broke my trend line, and that's kind of the flaw of trend lines for me, is that if you're looking at it like this, it just makes so much more sense that there's just stops. This person stops. This person stops. It's really all about what you want, but I think that's pretty neat. Pretty neat. So, anyways, net, right? Boom, and entry. Let's try to mark this out just to be exact. Boom. So there's the entry on Tuesday, and back to 100. Back to $100. That's all I needed for the week, right? So, anyways, with that being said, let's shift gears just a little second, and remember, QQQ is just in this range, absolutely stuck. I think this distribution, that's fine. That's another discussion. But I thought this was my week to get out of Oxy, which is kind of sad. I'm actually all out of Oxy now, and we can talk about the sequence, but again, it's just finding value when tech is going flat. I just showed you what tech was doing. Tech's doing absolutely nothing, right? And so you get a peg. You're trying to find the value. You're trying to find where stocks at 52-week lows. Over here, what are they doing after 52-week lows? What are they doing? They're trying to put in a higher low. This is a uncharacteristic like move. Somebody wants oil. Somebody gets in oil. More people get in oil. More people get in oil, right? Just doing nothing wrong. And I think this is also going higher. Just given that this did nothing wrong, right? This did nothing wrong in August of 2022. This did nothing wrong. Just given, I'm not a huge macro guy, just given the way that the Fed is also allowing these things to happen, right? Is allowing higher prices, especially in something like oil, right? But again, the rotation is very clear. But Oxy, where was the final price target? In this bear gap, right? Very, 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 very clean. And so now what do you want to see Oxy do? Is sell off on low volume, float on low volume. Just try to find some type of here's imbalance, maybe refill some imbalance. I don't know. I took it after Tuesday's move, right, in anticipation of whatever FOMC was going to come out and say. I took off all my risk on Oxy in this bear gap, which was a target the whole time from in here. So this video is a little bit long. I hope you guys enjoyed. There's tons, and there was a lot of opportunities if you were looking in the right places. But again, this net trade was A+ for me, and then the QQQ indice move was also A+. So I don't want to keep rambling. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. This is a very long week for me. Just given finals and trading is crazy. I took a final during the FOMC. Okay, this is why you start. This is just a quick rant, bro. I took a final while I was inside of net, man. Like during FOMC, I was inside of net, which is a very degenerate thing to do. I would not recommend it. But just very stressful, bro. Very stressful, bro. The test was stressful. The moment I checked my phone, bro, stressful. So I'm gonna need to chill this weekend. So, anyways, boys, that's gonna be it. Hope you guys have a good weekend.